Hello, Aldo Figueroa here again. In this video, we are going to continue with our demonstration here. What I have is this polygon hammer where I unwrap the UVs. Now that our UVs are unwrapped, especially for the hammer, not necessarily for the hammerhead, but for the hammer, what I want to do now, I want to show you how you could export this out uh, so that you could apply your own custom texture. So what I want to do here, uh, I'm going to minimize this window, my UV editor window, just a bit because I need to open up a new window. I'm going to go ahead and open up our hypershade. I'm going to click on this little icon right here to bring my hypershade. I need to move it from my other screen. So here we go. What I'm going to do is with my handle selected, I'm just going to create a new shader. Now, a couple of things that I want to mention is that when it comes time to render, I'm going to be using Arnold renderer. So with Arnold renderer, when you need to use, it's better to use an Arnold shader, which I'll show you how to do a little bit later. But if you want to use a texture, it works better to use an Arnold shader as opposed to using a regular shader. But for right now, we're going to use a stand-in shader. So uh, let's see, under shaders, under surfaces, I'm just going to go ahead and create, it doesn't matter if we create a blend or a Lambert, I'm just going to go ahead and create a blend so that we have a differentiate. So we have a blend one. Lambert one is your default shader. And I'm going to go ahead and select it, and I'm going to go ahead and apply that blend one onto that surface. And here I could change the color just so you could see how that is a Lambert one. I wanted blend one red there, just so you could see how we have that shader right here. I don't necessarily want this to be red, but you can see how it's applied. So I'm going to make this a dark gray for right now. Okay. So with this blend, I could go ahead and close this window for right now. I'm going to close it. And with this one selected, so now that we assign that shader, what I'm going to do now is we are going to go back into our UV texture editor. Let's see. These got separated. UV editor. And with my object selected, so that we could see our UV shells here, I'm going to go into image, and you can see down here we could create what's called a PSD network. Now this is really cool because I'm going to go ahead and click on this. What you're able to do, very important, and something that I didn't mention previously, is that make sure that your project directory is set because it's going to place this file. Right now it has this really long name because my file name is really long. It's this unwrap unwrap polygon hammer demo low poly hammer head handle shape. I'm just going to go ahead and rename this. That's too long. I'll call this the poly hammer handle. It's going to create a Photoshop document file, and I already have Photoshop open. The size, I'm going to leave it at 1024 by 2024 and keep that aspect ratio. Include UV snapshot. UV snapshot is this window right here. So I'm going to place it on top. The color is going to be white. I'm not going to have an anti-alias. And for this demonstration, all I'm going to do is bring the color over. So because that's all we're going to be connecting to our Arnold shader. So just the color. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and tell it to create. So now you can see how the color kind of changed. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my file browser. Let me go ahead and locate this file. Okay, it's right here. Let's go into my source images. And you can see right here, it's this one right here, this poly hammer handle. I'm going to go ahead and double click on it. And it's going to go ahead and open up in Photoshop. So I just need to resize my Photoshop window so we could see what we got. Okay, I'm having trouble resizing my Photoshop window. Okay, here it goes. Uh, and I want to show you what we have here. So in my layers, let me go ahead and zoom out. Now what we have up on top, we have our UV snapshot. This right here is basically just a snapshot of the placement of your UVs, so you can know where everything is at. Then we have a folder specifically for Blend 1. And then we have the color that we had initially, which was that gray color. Since it's already there, I'm going to go ahead and save it. I'm going to go back into Maya. Within here, I'm going to go ahead and press 6 on my keyboard so that it gives me the texture mode so we could see what we have. So you can see your file. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it. Let's go back into Photoshop and say, for example, I'm going to create a new layer and I'm going to use different tools. I'll use the marquee tool because I want to select this area. I have the second layer that's found within my blend folder. I want to place orange. So I'm going to go ahead and select an orange color. Let's see. That's a nice orange color. I'm going to use the bucket tool to fill this area here. And I'm going to go ahead and switch to my lasso tool because I also want this one to be orange. And let's see. Also, this was the top. This too is going to be orange. And you can see what I'm doing. I'm just filling in the areas that need to be orange. I'll use this that dark color. Okay. And here, let's go ahead and save this, Command S or Control S if you're on a Mac. I'm going to go back into Maya. I'm going to go here into tell it to update. You can see how it's now orange, and now this is orange. Now, yes, I'm just coloring my model, but what I could also do, let's go back here. Let's say I'm going to use my type tool. So I'm going to switch this. I want white text. And let's go ahead and change this to polyhammer. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate this. I'll put it somewhere right here. How large do I want this to be? Don't know. Have to apply it. So you can see that this is all within the blend color. I'm going to save this. Let's go back into Maya. Let's select this. It's already there, but I need to update it. Update network. Okay, I'm going to force it. I'm going to press 5, then 6. Or maybe it's on the other side. It's on the other side. And there it says polyhammer. Now if I click on this, I'm going to press 3 to get the smooth view. You can see how it says polyhammer. And really I could bring in any type of image onto this because I now placed it. Let's go back into here. Let's just have some fun. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my type tool. Say, what if I want something to be listed right here? Let's see, 3D computer animation. I don't want to move that one. See, I want to move this one. I'm going to go ahead and scale this down. Zoom in. Let's check it out. So we'll see what this looks like. All right. I'm going to save it. The thing is very important. You have to make sure that we save. Otherwise, it won't stay there or it won't update in my file. So I need to sometimes have to update it. Let's see. Let's go back. Okay, I'm getting. Let's see. It's there. Did I save it? Did I Command S? Saved. Let's go back. Okay, now it's there. And let's. Okay, there it is. So I could see. "3D computer animation." Nice. So now we have that there. I'm going to go ahead and put some files, some textures on these. Because I mentioned that we want to use Arnold, so I want to go ahead and put, I want to set this up. But let me show you what's going to happen. Well, let's see, I don't have a light, so I can't really show you just yet. But for this one, I'm just going to create, I know this one doesn't, I did not create the UV texturing for this one. I'm going to go ahead and create anisotropic shader for this one. I'm going to press 3 to get it slightly smooth. And I'm going to go ahead and open up the hypershade, have this anisotropic, and I'm going to just change the color. I'm just going to make this a little bit darker. And I have this for right now. And let's see, for these faces, I will actually want these to have that shader, but I'm not going to do that until I create my other shader. And let's see, I'll go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to go into under Arnold. There are shaders, surface. I'm just going to select a standard standard surface. And for this standard surface, it has many properties. But what I want to do is I'm just going to go ahead and select this object. I'm going to go ahead and assign that shader. But now what I want to do for the standard shader for what it says base for color, I'm going to create a render node. I'm going to connect that file that we just created. So right here under create render node, we could either tell it to have like a 2D texture file, or also under Arnold, under texture, there is also, let's see, under shader, there's also a file, surface. Let's see, where is it? Is it under texture? Right here, AI image. So it has an image now associated with it. And I could click on this folder and I'm going to assign my polyhammer PSD and tell it to load. Now notice that it's loading the entire file. So I have to go back into Photoshop. I have to hide this layer, which was my the UV snapshot. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. Great. That's been saved. I could go back to Maya. I'm going to go ahead and tell Maya to, oh, let's see. I'm going to close this window, select this, image, update image. Just press 5 and then 6. Let's see, for some reason it's not updating. Let's go back into Photoshop just to make sure that it was saved. Okay, I'm gonna go back into here. Or you know what, let's go into the actual shader. Okay, there, now it updated. And now when I look at it, so now it has this Arnold shader now has that texture on it. The reason why I'm using this Arnold shader is because we're going to be using the Arnold renderer. Now, I want to do that in the next video. I want to show you how to set up some lights. But before I do that, I'm going to right mouse click faces. I want to select these faces right here. Now, I want to make sure that I don't have more faces than necessary. I'm going to deselect these. What I'm going to do, I'm going to assign my anisotropic shader to these. Okay, just want to make sure that I have the right faces selected. So it's very important that you go around to make sure that you don't have too many faces or the wrong faces selected. So now that I have these selected, I go back to my hypershader. I'm going to right mouse click anisotropic, and I'm going to go ahead and assign. So now the hammer head and the handle have the same surface shader. I am going to go ahead and save my file. And the next video, continue. The next video, what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how to set up a light using Arnold and how to set up our document. All right, I'll see you in the next video.